JSON UI Server Forms, a hard-to-learn, outdated instant legacy code data structure schema that can make your garbage code look like pure gold. And when I say pure gold, I actually mean it. Because JSON UI is a very hard thing to master, which is why it's very looked after and pays a good amount of money. And with that, sup YouTube and welcome to my very first tutorial into JSON UI. In today's video, I'm gonna be showing you how you can conditionally render a server form, which we need to do to customize the server form later on. So let's get started. First of all, let's make sure we have a resource pack with the appropriate manifest.json file. Inside the file, you can just paste the basic manifest boilerplate. And we also need a behavior pack with the manifest as well. But in this case, we have a little bit more to that. Because we need to enable the scripting API for our project. This is being done by adding the script module as well as the two dependencies which we are going to be using. So now we just create the file where the entry point is located, which is the main.js file which is located in the scripts folder. The first thing that we want to do is to create two forms. One being the conditionally rendered one, while the other one stays the same. For that, I'm just going to import those two imports, which we're going to be using to create two different action forms. Each of them are being basically the same, with the only difference being their name. This is really important for the step that we do later on in the JSON UI part. So make sure they have different names. The next thing I'm gonna do is to show the two different forms based on which item you used using the item use event. In game, you should be able to click both the compass and the clock to show both forms. And now the fun part begins. First of all, we need to obtain the UI file for the default server form, which can be located inside the default resource pack of Minecraft. I will link the default resource pack in the description. So now we go into the UI folder and search for a file called the serverform.json. Once found, we can just copy over this file into the resource pack UI folder. And the first thing that we see is a lot of errors. This is because Minecraft is using comments, which are normally not allowed in JSON. But we can disable this error by just changing the language to JSON-C, which is JSON but with comments. Now we take this file and basically delete almost everything. I have left two elements in, one of them being the main screen content. Inside that main screen content, you see the server form factory. And on the top, you can see the namespace of the file we're currently in. And inside one of those control IDs, you can see that a certain element from this namespace is being referenced. For now, we only care about the long form, since this is the normal action form that we use with our scripts. The second one is the modal form data, which we are not modifying today. And this is why I only kept the long form element inside this file. Good, now that we understood this, we can just remove that as well, so we only have our long form. Since we're going to write actual code, let's make things easier before that. For which I'm gonna be using a JSON schema. The schema will give us some sort of autocompletions, which aren't perfect, but are at least something. Now we're gonna add an array of bindings to our code. Bindings are being used to modify and process hard-coded variables and values, which is why we're gonna establish a reference to the title text, which is the title from the form. And now we're gonna do all the magic, because now we write the evaluation of the source property name, which in this case just checks for the form name, to the target property #visible. So all this really does is it's comparing the title text with a custom string we defined in this file and writes its result into the visible property, which can be either true or false, which either shows the form or hides it. So let's remove that again and let's see how it works in game. So if we remember correctly, we said that the form is only visible if the form has the specific text of custom form, which is why the clock form shows here. The compass form, on the other hand, does not show because it doesn't match the name exactly. We can inverse the statement by doing this, because JSON UI handles strings a little bit differently. Because if it cannot subtract the string custom form from the title text, then the title text stays the same, so the condition is true. Otherwise, if the string custom form can be subtracted, the condition becomes false. So this is just an inversion of the statement that we did earlier. So let's see it in game. So now the compass opens, but the clock doesn't. So now we create 2 of those statements and modify the one that should be modified. So let's modify the longform a bit. We make the longform be a panel. The name of the element has to be longform since it is referenced in the main factory. We're doing this to be able to store multiple of the elements with the conditions in them. We can use that by using controls which can hold an array of elements. Meaning all we have to do is to copy our panel and paste it as much as we want depending on how many forms we want. In this case, we're gonna paste it 2 times. So now we have 2 forms which would basically show at the same time. Now we could modify one and modify one's condition to only show when a certain name is provided. So the first element which we're not gonna modify is only gonna show when the title text is not our custom form. The other element on the other hand is now only gonna show when the title text is the custom form. And therefore we can change a property of this form to change how it looks in game. For now I'm only gonna change the size, but if you want to change other stuff, we would have to create our custom dialog panel, which we'll do in the next episode. So for now I'm only gonna change the size to 400, which should increase the width of the form. And looking in-game we can see that the compass opens the normal form, while the clock opens the wide form. And that's actually it for today. And if you support me exposing all the JSON UI nerds, consider subscribing and leave a like. Bye!